Dumb. Cool.
Weird.
Podcast.
All right, now we're gonna discuss a movie we watched.
Yeah, so we tried to record this a couple weeks ago, and it didn't really work out too well. We had SIM card problems,
Fucking
SD cards,
bitch.
and so now we're gonna try it again. So we are talking about the Return of the Ape Man, Bela Lugosi movie.
Another tragic Bela Lugosi movie with his alcohol-ridden self.
Yep.
You know what though? I will say it's not like the Ape Man, the original movie we watched.
Yep.
0 apes, all man.
Yep.
Whole fucking movie though. Bela Lugosi goes on about science. And I love when they're on the boat, blowing up what looks like the North Pole or Antarctica to find a dead guy. Because to give you some context, all right, in this movie, they're trying to bring dead people back to life, and they had a bum they found dead in the park for like 4 months, and they resuscitated him. And when he got up, he's like, "Oh my God, why am I here?"
Yeah, and they were like, "Well,
We found you.
and he was just like, and then they gave him a shot of liquor. You know?
Oh yeah, the water. Oh, here, take some water. Wow, Bela Lugosi, the water in your lab is looks like it needs some work. It's just straight black liquor.
Yep, they gave him straight liquor and they sent him on his way.
I love how they gave him like $5 too. And he's like, "Oh, gee willikers, mister. Thank you."
Yep, because $5 was a lot of money back then.
I know, right? Speaking of which, I was watching an old '90s commercial for McDonald's.
Yeah.
They had a $3 meal, so
Yeah, so that was a lot of money back then.
So yeah, this was like the 40s, wasn't it? So like $5 got you way farther.
Yeah, $5 got you a hooker, a stay at a hotel, and maybe a shave and a shit or something.
Well, I mean, the shit came with the shower, but you definitely got a good hooker. You definitely got a good
maybe
hooker
even maybe even a 5-course meal.
Oh, you know what? That's true. It was like 25 cents a course.
Yep, pretty much. So, basically what ends up happening, though, is they go to Antarctica. They're trying to find a caveman or just something frozen in the ice.
Yeah.
And they were basically Bela Lugosi's like, what if we could find a guy that's been asleep in the ice for thousands of years, and then we could bring him back.
Carradine is like, what was his full name? Because he's related to his kids are the Carradines.
Oh man,
John Carradine. Yeah, John
yeah.
Carradine's. He's sitting there, probably thinking about his real family.
Yeah.
He's like, oh, I wish I could go home. I miss my family, and I miss my wife. And then Bela Lugosi's like, I too am married, and he's like, oh, you got a family? I'm married to my work, science.
And then we're like, yeah.
It's like, you motherfucker.
Yeah. And so they end up going to the Antarctica, and before they start blowing it up, by the way, they have these two Eskimos digging, and they're kind of half-ass digging in the fucking snow.
Probably like the 2-man crew that he hired.
Yeah.
It was like, motherfuckers are not doing a damn thing.
Yeah, pretty much.
And
it's awful. And then as it goes on, they
the plot though, of the movie.
Yeah, the plot of the movie is fucking crazy. Basically, they blow up the ice, and then they find a caveman, and he's perfectly frozen in ice, not destroyed or anything, because dynamite doesn't do that. And so they get him back to the lab. They got him on the slab.
Yeah, and I love when Bela Lugosi's like, we have to thaw him out slowly, so it doesn't bring shock to his system.
Yeah, and then John Carradine's like, okay, I'll see you tomorrow, and then he leaves, and then Bela Lugosi looks over, grabs a blowtorch, and just like
starts going. It's like I tried waiting.
Waited a whole 2 seconds. I'm just gonna do it.
No, and then what I love though is the fact that they're like, what if we put a living person's brain from today inside of his brain,
and I could make them do anything I want?
Yeah, and everyone's like, well, that would kill everybody. That would kill the person who has to undergo the surgery. So then they go to a family dinner, and the whole time, while he's not drinking, he's plotting to kill people at this family dinner.
Yeah, and he keeps scoping everybody out. He's like, oh, that brain. Oh, maybe that brain.
Oh, it's maybe the young fiance, not the old guy.
Yeah, so he tricks the fiance into driving him back to his lab, gets him like all like liquored up,
Drunk.
and then he brings him downstairs and puts him on the slab. And then John Carradine comes down with a gun and says, "Take him off there, or I'm gonna kill you." And then he's like, "Oh, you got me." And he's like,
I was just kidding.
"Yep." And the fucked up thing is he doesn't call the cops on fucking Bela Lugosi.
I love how he was like, "Oh, Scout's honored. I won't do it again."
Yeah, fucking, he fell for that one. And then he goes, I'm going to get my revenge
On you, the guy who who trusted me. I'm gonna get revenge on you.
Yep, and basically what ends up happening is Bela Lugosi builds basically a Deus Ex Machina machine is what I call it. It's basically this fucking, crazy scientific machine, bullshit that they made back in the day. And this one happened to be like a giant light bulb looking thing.
Yeah, like just kind of pulses every now and again.
Yeah.
It was all pulsing things, magnets, and beakers.
Yep.
Back in the day.
And he pretty much has everything because he has the pulsating light and there's a magnetic force on the bottom of the floor, and if you step on it, you get frozen in place.
Yeah, electromagnetic things, make you stop. No explanation. Like every cutscene for exposition is literally just an article, or from a newspaper, or just from a book.
Yep.
Like that's how they transition the scene. I mean, it's a lot better than most of the movies.
Yep.
But it's still bad.
Yep, and he basically gets John Carradine to come back to the house. Bela Lugosi freezes him in place, and he goes, "I'm going to cut out your brain and put it into the caveman." And then John's like, "Damn it,
fine,
yeah.
At least it was me."
Yeah.
But he's like, "I warn you though, this is gonna end badly." But going back to the lab, right? He's living in an apartment complex at the ground floor of the basement.
Yep.
Why is no one pissed off that their electrical bill is like $5,000 a month?
I don't know. That's a good question. Because, back then, like they would have noticed something like that.
Yeah, they would have been like, "Hey, Doc, can you just not keep the lab running 24/7?"
Yep.
But science.
But the science. Yes. And so after that, he ends up putting John Carradine's part of his brain into the caveman, and when he gets up, he goes, "Who are you?" And he goes,
Gilmore.
Gilmore.
No, not the person who I used. But who are you? Gilmore. Like he expected, that this guy had a name, and he had a story to tell.
Yep. And then the caveman gets mad and does like the old cartoon trick where he bends the bars, and then he gets out. And then when he gets out, he goes up to he goes on a killing spree. He kills a cop, tries to kill a woman, but the cop pulls him off, and
then he kills a cop. But it was very easy to kill people in the 40s. All you had to do was do that front choke, and they died immediately.
Yeah, well, back then they died a lot faster because the physics back then were a little bit different than they are now.
Do you think it was because men were stronger back then? Just grabbing someone could kill them.
Could be. They had that crazy retard strength.
Well, you know what? That is true though, because he was a caveman, so his strength was severely primal to fight anything,
like saber-toothed tigers, all kinds of weird shit.
I bet you when he was grabbing people, they were like, "Oh, this isn't gonna hurt," and just snaps their bones.
Yep, didn't even see it coming. And then basically what ends up happening is he ends up going back to the house that he basically. He murdered the guy's wife. Yeah, basically he murdered his wife, and then Bela Lugosi grabs him and goes, "Why did you do that? Why did you do that?" It was an accident.
Yeah, it was an accident. He was like, "I'm sorry, I'm new to this."
Yeah, and it was just like, "Oh well, now it's okay. It was just an accident."
He puts him behind a makeshift wall.
Yep.
After he bends the bars, he gets a whole new thing. He already got a new set of bars. Who are you bringing down into that basement to renovate that after some caveman breaks your shit?
I don't know. It was really fucking stupid. And then basically the cops and the fiance show up, and they're like, "Hey, where you don't mind us looking around, do you?" And he's like, "Oh, of course not. Come on down to my lab."
It lets them in. He lets them in, and then he brings them down to the lab where the caveman's just banging on the wall. It's like, "Oh, what's that?" "It's the neighbors." Yeah, right, asshole.
Yep. And then basically he's banging. All of a sudden, he just breaks the fucking wall, the wall through, and then basically bends the bars again, comes out, starts attacking everybody, and these cops shoot him.
They unload the full like the full revolver, point blank range, just into this fucking madman, and like, oh my god, bullets, they don't work.
Yep. And then he goes up and chokes, gives him the single choke to Bela Lugosi. But Bela Lugosi doesn't die right away. He dies.
He gets this.
He's like, what have I done? And like dies. And then
he's like, science betrayed me.
Yep. And then the lab catches on fire.
No, that was last. So because you gotta set it up right. They go on a whole Frankenstein chase because the fiance.
I forgot about the Frankenstein chase.
Yeah, he goes back to the house to play the piano for some reason.
Yep.
And after he killed that woman, then his daughter is in there like, oh my god, it's Gilmore, and he's like, no, and he puts her over his shoulder, and he goes on this fucking wild chase.
Yep.
Beats up poor Geppetto in his
flammable
ass stage.
Stage. It's one of those flammable ass stages they had back in the day, where you had like had theater like production, it was so flammable. You literally could like have a spark literally go off and the whole thing just goes up.
Yeah, that's why it was funny, because it's like, he's afraid of fire this whole movie, and they're running around fire, but like you said, like everything in the 1940s was flammable.
Yep, pretty much.
And the funnier part about it is, like, to go back to what you said, at the end of the movie, the lab burns down, and the last words were, well, hopefully the fire department doesn't get here. Let's let this one burn. And you're like, wait a minute. This is a whole fucking apartment complex.
Yeah, it'd be funny if there was like an alternate scene where the lady's looking out the window and she's like, her hair's on fire, and she's like, really?
Yeah.
Really?
Hey, at least with this one though, no random guy was sitting in a car going, "I'm the director."
Yeah, pretty much.
Like in the original Ape Man.
That was so bad. Yeah, what's funny is basically at the very end of the movie, the guy like braves the fire. They're like, "You can't go in there. It's dangerous." He goes, "I'm gonna save her," and then he goes down in there.
Goes into the fire.
He goes in the fire, and she's like in a room where she's protected by everything, and grabs her. And Nick made a good point. She probably could have just left the whole time.
Yeah, she was. The door was a push door. She's like, "Oh no, help me!" The guy pushes the door in, and it's like, oh, all right. I guess I could have gotten out. Shit.
Yep. So. Basically, what ends up happening, though, is they leave, and that's where he gets the scene where the cops are like, well, the fire department comes in later because,
let's just let this one burn down. Bela Lugosi's creepy experiments.
Yep. So there's a few things that kind of stand out in this movie to me that I really didn't like. For one, Bela Lugosi's alcoholism was very apparent.
Dude, his teeth were black.
So there was a scene where he was up in the caveman's face.
Oh, my God.
And you could definitely tell his teeth were black.
Dude, his breath must have smelled like pure death.
Yeah, and that fucking caveman has a strong fucking stomach. That's all I gotta say.
Dude, I bet you the guy who was playing the caveman was like, Belle, never get in my fucking face again with that mouth of yours. Oh, yeah. I love how everyone is having a normal, like, very toothy smile, and he's like putting in his lips like he's like a turtle. He's like,
yeah, because there's like a scene where he smiles and it's like a...
He's like, every smile he ever does is like, he kind of like shields his teeth because you could tell they're just like straight black.
Yep. Like every single one. And the thing is, it's very apparent that his alcoholism is so bad at this point, and his acting is a little bit subpar too, and you can definitely tell it's affecting it. But, But then the other thing is them shooting like unloading a fucking clip into him.
Well, it wasn't a clip. They went all rounds. I mean, this was a revolver.
Yeah, but I mean, I don't think he was the only cop. I mean, I think all the cops were shooting.
Yeah,
too.
they were. They were just like, hey, caveman, let's shoot our guns. We didn't get to go to World War II.
Yep. And so those are two things that stand out. Also, another thing that kind of stands out to me was the Eskimos in the beginning with the fucking digging. I thought that was so fucking dumb.
Dude, I bet you they were overworked. They're just trying to like. They were probably paying them well, so they're like, let's just kind of like, let's just kind of like cheese
drag it out, yeah.
For 10 months.
So what are your final thoughts on the movie?
No apes. was very disappointing.
Yeah, I know Nick was gonna be disappointed. There was not one ape in that movie. I guess you could count the caveman as like a sort of an ape, but
Yeah, I mean,
he would just be like a hominid, like basically like a Neanderthal
early
or
man,
something.
Neanderthal, but it's
yeah.
like you can't call a movie the Ape Man and have no apes, nor have it reference to the other movie.
And that's what we found out. We did a little bit of digging, and it turns out that the movie is actually not a direct sequel to the Ape Man.
Yeah,
It's in fact really all it is. It's just them making a reference to the Ape Man because Bela Lugosi just happens to be in that movie.
yeah.
And that's really all it was. And it was a marketing standpoint. But I could just imagine people in 1940 being like, oh, the few people that actually watched the Ape Man were like, oh, dude, there's a sequel to the Return of the Ape Man. Return of the Ape Man. I want to see that.
I wonder, just like when guys were out in World War II, if they were like getting a film. And the film they see is the original Ape Man with Bela Lugosi. So they're immediately thinking, like, Bela Lugosi, oh, yeah, the guy from Dracula.
Yeah.
And then they get the Ape Man, and they're like, oh, fuck.
Yep.
I want to kill myself now.
Yep. It must have been really disappointing. So my take on that is just like... Trash film. Very misleading.
Bela Lugosi is in a lot of ape movies.
I mean, it made us laugh a few times, but
yeah.
Other than that... You can skip this one. I mean, you don't even have to watch this one in sequence with the other one because it's not even a fucking sequel.
Just watch the original Ape Man.
Yeah,
and you're good.
Yeah, pretty much. So yeah, so this is what the podcast is going to be like. We're gonna create a Twitch account, and the way this will work is we record every Monday for the show. So we'll be watching the movie on Twitch.
Yeah.
And then we'll probably have the full reaction uploaded to like all the social media platforms, including YouTube. But then we'll have the funny, like short, like our real thoughts probably drop like sometime later on in the week. So
absolutely. I mean, it is what it is. You know what I mean?
Yep. So, all right. Well, hope you guys have a good one, and stay sexy, Georgia.
Like that's my line, motherfucker. You don't get to say it. I do.
Then say it.
Stay sexy, Georgia.
And check out our social media, goddammit.
Yeah, I got bills I need to pay.
Fool, you'll pay for this.